The morning sun had barely risen over Denver's skyline when Amelia Carter's alarm buzzed at 6:30 a.m. Denver's golden light seeped through her blinds, casting soft shadows across her organized desk. Files were stacked neatly in her courtroom attire, a tailored navy blazer and crisp white blouse hung by the door. Today was different. Amelia wasn't heading to the federal courthouse, where she commanded respect as a top prosecutor. Instead, she was on her way to dispute a parking ticket. Amelia Carter, a black woman who had excelled in a justice system often biased against her, approached challenges with determination. Graduating at the top of her class from Howard University Law School, she shattered barriers and became a symbol of hope. Every victory represented more than personal success. It paved the way for others. After pinning back her natural curls, a style she had embraced proudly, Amelia gathered her thoughts. Her Mercedes gleamed in the lot, a testament to years of dedication and persistence. As she navigated Denver's sluggish morning traffic, NPR played softly in the background. Amelia mentally reviewed her evidence. Photos of contradictory parking signs, timestamps proving her point, and her belief that fairness mattered, even in small cases. At 8:15, her car's Bluetooth chimed with an incoming call. Her boss, the U.S. attorney, rarely called this early. Amelia tapped the steering wheel to answer. "Amelia, I hate to call you this early." His voice was tense. "We've got a problem with the green trafficking case. The defense filed a last-minute motion, and it could jeopardize everything." Amelia's chest tightened. The green case, involving dozens of victims, was one of the most significant prosecutions of her career. Months of preparation had gone into ensuring that justice would be served, not just for the victims, but to set a precedent for future cases. "What's the timeline?" she asked. "The judge gave us until noon. I emailed you the motion. Can you review it and send me your thoughts soon?" "Yes, sir," she replied. Pulling into a coffee shop lot, Amelia opened her laptop and connected to her phone's hotspot. The defense's motion was dense, filled with technicalities designed to derail the trial, but Amelia worked efficiently. She drafted her notes and sent them back. When she checked the clock, it was 8:50 a.m. Her municipal court appearance was scheduled for 9, and the courthouse was still 10 minutes away. Saving her work, Amelia started her car and headed downtown. She hated being late. It clashed with her values and professionalism. By the time she arrived at the courthouse parking lot at 9:10, Amelia felt the weight of the morning's demands. Grabbing her evidence folder, she stepped out with purpose. What she didn't know was that her slightly tardy arrival would ignite a chain of events that would expose deep-rooted biases in a system she had spent her career defending. And that this seemingly ordinary morning was about to become anything but routine. Amelia stepped through the courthouse doors, her heels clicking against the polished floor as she moved with purpose. The municipal courtroom was already bustling with defendants waiting to stand before the judge. The air was heavy with quiet tension as people shuffled paperwork and whispered anxiously. Amelia glanced at her watch. 9:15 a.m. She took a deep breath and walked toward the front of the room, clutching her evidence folder tightly. Judge Richard Emerson presided over the courtroom. In his early 60s, with neatly combed gray hair and sharp, judgmental eyes, Emerson was known for his strict courtroom demeanor and intolerance for delays. As Amelia approached the podium, she could feel his gaze fixed on her. "You must be Ms. Carter," Judge Emerson said, his voice sharp. "You were scheduled for 9 a.m. Do you think your time is more valuable than the court's?" "Your Honor," Amelia began, keeping her tone calm, "I apologize for the delay. I had an urgent matter to attend to this morning involving my work as a federal prosecutor." Judge Emerson raised an eyebrow. "This court does not make exceptions for tardiness. In my courtroom, punctuality is the first rule of respect." The courtroom fell silent as the judge's words lingered. Amelia stood her ground, maintaining her composure. She knew this wasn't just about a parking ticket anymore. The judge's condescending tone hinted at something deeper. "I understand, Your Honor," Amelia replied, her voice steady. "I am here to present my case regarding the parking violation." The judge leaned back in his chair, irritated. "Proceed, then." Amelia opened her folder and presented her evidence. She showed photos of contradictory parking signs, timestamps proving she hadn't overstayed, and a detailed explanation. Her professionalism filled the room, and several people in the gallery nodded quietly, impressed by her poise. But Judge Emerson barely glanced at the evidence. "You should know," he said, cutting her off mid-sentence, that excuses won't get you very far in this courtroom. Amelia's jaw tightened, though she refused to let her frustration show. She had faced dismissive attitudes before, and she recognized the pattern. This wasn't about the evidence. It was about the assumptions the judge had made. "Your Honor," Amelia said firmly, "I'm not offering excuses. I'm presenting facts that show this ticket was issued in error." Judge Emerson's eyes narrowed. "Are you questioning this court's judgment, Miss Carter?" The room held its breath as everyone watched the exchange. Amelia stood taller, refusing to back down. "I'm asking for a fair review of the evidence, Your Honor. Nothing more." The judge's face flushed slightly, his authority challenged by her calm confidence. He tapped his gavel lightly against the desk. "I will review the evidence and make my decision shortly," he said curtly. As Amelia returned to her seat, she could feel the eyes of the courtroom on her. Some were sympathetic, others curious. The bailiff, an older black man named James, gave her a subtle nod, a silent acknowledgement of the unfairness she had endured. Amelia sat quietly, her mind racing. This moment had become something far larger than a parking ticket. It wasn't just about her, it was about the system. Judge Emerson's gavel struck the bench, silencing the murmurs in the courtroom. "Next case," he called out, his voice sharp and commanding. Amelia sat in her seat, her evidence folder resting on her lap. Her mind raced as she replayed the judge's dismissive tone. It wasn't the first time she had faced this kind of treatment, but today it felt heavier, more personal. Across the room, the bailiff, James, caught her eye and gave her a subtle nod of solidarity. Amelia returned the gesture with a faint smile. This wasn't just about her parking ticket anymore. It was about something larger, something deeply embedded in the system she had sworn to uphold. The cases dragged on, one after another, as Amelia observed Judge Emerson's demeanor. A young white man stepped forward for a minor traffic violation. He was 5 minutes late, yet the judge didn't even mention it. "Pay your fine and be on your way," Emerson said curtly, his tone noticeably softer than it had been with Amelia. As the hours passed, Amelia saw a pattern emerge. Defendants of color, especially black defendants, were treated with less patience and harsher tones compared to their white counterparts. It wasn't overt, but it was undeniable. Amelia's heart sank as she realized how many people must have endured this quiet, unspoken injustice without the means to challenge it. Finally, the judge called Amelia back to the podium. She rose, standing tall, and approached with measured steps. Her hands rested steady on the edge of the wooden stand, but inside she braced herself for what was to come. "Ms. Carter," Emerson began, his tone clipped and formal, "I've reviewed your evidence. While the ticket may have been issued due to unclear signage, this court still finds tardiness unacceptable." He paused deliberately. "I am reducing the fine to $50. This matter is now closed." Amelia's stomach churned. She had presented clear evidence, but the judge's decision still felt tainted with a need to assert control. "Thank you, Your Honor," she replied evenly, masking her frustration. Turning on her heel, she walked back to her seat, aware of the watchful eyes in the room. Outside, Amelia paused to collect herself. The Denver air was crisp, and the sun hung high in the clear blue sky. Her phone buzzed, and she pulled it out to see a message from her boss. "Thanks for your quick work this morning. Judge ruled in our favor. Well done." She stared at the screen, her emotions swirling. The Green case had moved forward, but her thoughts remained on what had unfolded in court. She reflected on the biases she had seen, the quiet, pervasive ways they eroded trust in the justice system. Amelia walked slowly toward her car, her heels clicking against the pavement. This wasn't the end, not for her and not for the system she had dedicated her life to defending. Sliding into the driver's seat, she made a silent promise. This wouldn't be her last confrontation. Change began in moments like this, and she intended to make every one of them count. If you were in Amelia's position, would you have spoken up to challenge the judge? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below.